Not because of poor quality or distance, but because what appears on screen doesn't behave the way it should in an open desert. These clips weren't staged or planned. They were filmed by people working, traveling, or crossing remote land, who noticed something out of place and kept recording without knowing what they were about to capture. What makes these encounters unsettling isn't just what appears on camera, but where it appears. Wide, empty landscapes, clear visibility, no cover. Places where nothing is supposed to hide. And once you see them, it becomes hard to ignore the question that follows. If these encounters were caught on camera, how many others were never seen at all? Desert biped. In an open stretch of desert, a distant figure was captured moving across the sand under clear daylight. At first glance, it resembled a large quadruped, similar in outline to a camel. Then it stood upright. The creature continued running on two legs, its upper body leaning forward as it crossed the terrain with long, uneven strides. Based on nearby dunes and horizon scale, viewers estimated it stood over 3 meters tall. Its movement didn't match any known animal behavior, neither the gait of a camel nor that of a human. The footage is brief and unstable, recorded from far away, offering no clear details of its face or anatomy. Heat distortion and distance blur its form, but the posture remains consistent as it runs bipedally across open ground. There is no follow-up footage, no additional angles, and no explanation provided. Just a short clip of something moving through a place where visibility should make things clearer, not harder to understand. Desert sand emergence. In a wide stretch of desert, a camera captures movement breaking the surface of the sand. At first, it looks like a dune collapsing under its own weight. Then, a long, thick shape rises partway out of the ground. The body appears smooth and heavy, bending as it pushes forward before sinking again. There are no visible limbs, no clear head, only a mass moving with enough force to displace large amounts of sand. The motion is brief and controlled, as if the creature is testing the surface rather than fully emerging. Many viewers immediately connect the footage to old accounts of a massive worm said to live beneath desert sands. Others point to natural explanations, such as shifting dunes, buried animals, or camera distortion caused by distance and heat. There is no extended footage and no clear detail, only a short moment where the desert itself seems to move, then settles back into silence. Desert shed. Under the intense heat of the Arizona desert, a witness recorded a large snake resting openly on the sand. At first, the scene appears calm, almost ordinary, until the movement becomes clear. The snake is shedding its skin. Its body is thick and elongated, remaining almost perfectly still as the old layer peels away in sections. There is no sign of distress or urgency. The process unfolds slowly, with deliberate control, as if the animal is fully aware of its surroundings. At one point, the snake lifts its head and turns toward the camera. The movement is unhurried. The stare is direct. There is no attempt to flee or hide. The shedding continues in full view, uninterrupted by the presence of the observer. For some, the moment is mesmerizing. For others, deeply unsettling. Not because of aggression, but because of confidence. A reminder that in places like this, the desert is still ruled by creatures older, quieter, and far more patient than those passing through. Three-toed tracks. A man walking across a remote stretch of desert suddenly stopped when something on the ground caught his attention. Pressed deep into the sand was a trail of three-toed footprints, wide and evenly spaced, as if made by something extremely heavy. The camera moves closer. Each print appears fresh, sharply defined, and consistent in shape. They don't resemble tracks from any known animal in the region. Not birds, not reptiles, not livestock. As he follows the trail, the spacing never changes, suggesting a steady, deliberate pace. The footprints continue across the dunes, as if the creature passed through only minutes earlier. There is no body, no movement nearby, no shadow crossing the sand. Just a line of massive, unfamiliar tracks leading away into open desert, then fading without explanation. Low desert glide. On a bright, cloudless day near open desert, a camera captured a dark silhouette moving low across the sky. It wasn't fast, and it wasn't erratic. It appeared to glide, holding altitude just above the landscape. As the footage continues, the shape becomes clearer. The wings look long and uneven, extending far beyond a narrow body. There is no rapid flapping, no hovering, and no sharp changes in direction that would suggest a drone. Witnesses immediately questioned what they were seeing. The outline felt unfamiliar, closer to something prehistoric than to any modern bird. The movement remained slow and deliberate, as if conserving energy rather than searching for lift. Whether real or fabricated, the clip unsettled thousands online, not because of speed or aggression, but because the form didn't align with known wildlife. Sometimes, in places as open as the desert, the sky shows shapes that resist easy explanation. Skull on the wasteland. In the middle of a rocky wasteland, a group of hikers stopped after finding something that didn't belong in the landscape. Lying among stones and dust was a large skull, with long horns and a jaw locked open in a rigid, unnatural shape. It didn't appear recent, but it didn't look ancient either. The structure didn't match any local animal, livestock, or known wildlife. The bones showed strange proportions, as if they had belonged to something designed differently. The hikers stood around it without touching it, trying to understand what they were seeing. There were no other remains nearby, no body, no clear indication of how it ended up there. The video ends without explanation. The skull was left where it was, exposed in a place where nothing should have carried it. An isolated find, impossible to classify, lost in a landscape that offers no answers. Desert Solifuge. In arid regions, a camera captures one of the most unsettling predators of the desert, the solifuge, often called the camel spider. It is neither a spider nor a scorpion, despite how closely it resembles both. The animal moves with surprising speed, capable of reaching up to 16 kilometers per hour across open sand. When it feels threatened, it emits a sharp, high-pitched sound that doesn't seem to match its size. Its mandibles are large and powerful, opening and closing with enough force to tear apart small animals. What disturbs most viewers isn't how big it is, but how it moves. Fast, erratic, purposeful. Watching it run feels less like observing wildlife and more like seeing something escape from a film. The footage doesn't exaggerate its behavior. It simply shows a creature perfectly adapted to an extreme environment and how unprepared we are to encounter it up close. Cobra procession. In the middle of open desert, the camera captures a group of cobras moving together across the sand. It's a behavior rarely recorded, not a single snake crossing alone, but multiple bodies advancing in unison. They travel close to one another, their movements synchronized, forming a line that looks deliberate rather than scattered. There is no visible prey and no sign of conflict, just steady motion, as if guided by something unseen. To many viewers, the scene feels unsettling, not because of danger, but because it resembles something ancient, a formation that looks less like animal behavior and more like a ritual carried out in silence. The clip offers no context and no explanation. Only a brief moment where the desert shows a pattern that feels intentional and difficult to forget. Thorny devil camouflage. In the desert, a camera focuses on a creature that almost disappears the moment you look away. The thorny devil stands still against the sand, its body covered in sharp spines that perfectly match the surrounding terrain. At first, it's difficult to separate the animal from the ground beneath it. Its colors, texture, and shape blend so completely with the desert floor that movement is often the only giveaway. When it does shift, the illusion breaks for just a second, then reforms again. The reptile's design feels deliberate. Every spine, every ridge, every uneven surface seems placed with purpose, as if camouflage itself were the goal rather than survival alone. Nothing about it looks accidental. The footage shows no threat, no aggression, just a small creature relying on appearance instead of speed or strength. Still, watching it vanish into plain sight leaves an unsettling thought. Some designs in nature feel less like evolution and more like intention. Giant desert centipede. In a remote desert, a camera captures something moving across the sand that immediately feels wrong. It isn't fast, it isn't frantic. It advances slowly, deliberately, its body segmented and rigid, stretching to a size comparable to a human. Each section moves in sequence, creating a motion that feels almost mechanical rather than biological. The legs rise and fall with unsettling precision, as if following a pattern instead of instinct. There is no sudden aggression, no attempt to hide. What disturbs viewers isn't just the size, but the way it moves. This doesn't look like a scaled-up insect. It looks like something built to endure harsh terrain, advancing without urgency, as if it knows nothing around it poses a threat. The clip offers no context and no explanation, just a brief encounter with something that feels far removed from what we expect to find alive in the desert. Three-toed desert tracks. On a remote stretch of desert, a man stops after noticing something pressed deep into the sand. The trail in front of him doesn't resemble footprints from any known animal. Each print has 3 toes. They are wide, evenly spaced, and sunk deep into the ground, suggesting extreme weight. The shape doesn't match birds, reptiles, livestock, or wildlife native to the region. As he follows the trail, the pattern remains perfectly consistent, as if whatever made it moved with a steady, deliberate pace. There is no disturbance around it, no dragging marks, no signs of struggle. Then the tracks simply disappear into the dunes. There is no body, no movement, just a precise trail carved into the desert floor, ending without explanation. Prehistoric sky silhouette. Over an open stretch of desert, a dark figure crosses the sky at low altitude. It doesn't flap its wings. It doesn't hover or accelerate like a drone. The shape glides steadily, holding form as it moves across the frame. Its outline feels wrong for a bird, too rigid, too elongated. To many viewers, it resembles something prehistoric, closer to a winged reptile than any modern animal. There are no sudden turns and no visible propulsion, just slow, deliberate motion against a clear sky where details should be easy to read, yet remain unclear. The footage is brief and offers no follow-up, no second angle, no explanation. Only a moment where the desert sky reveals a shape that doesn't fit and leaves before it can be understood. Human-sized centipede. In a dry wasteland, a camera captures a centipede moving across open ground at a scale that immediately feels unnatural. Its body stretches to the size of a human, segmented from end to end, advancing with slow and unsettling precision. Each section lifts and settles in perfect sequence, as if following a hidden mechanism rather than instinct. The motion is steady and controlled, not frantic, not defensive. There is no hesitation as it crosses the terrain, no sign of urgency or confusion. What disturbs viewers isn't just the size, but the coordination. This doesn't look like a simple invertebrate magnified by distance or perspective. It looks deliberate, structured, almost engineered. The clip offers no context and no aftermath. Just a brief recording of something moving through a place where scale and isolation already distort reality, and make it harder to tell what should exist there at all. Atacama remains. In northern Chile, the mummified remains of a tiny humanoid figure were discovered sealed inside a cloth capsule. The body was small and fragile, with an elongated skull and unusually compact bones that didn't match typical human proportions. When images surfaced, speculation spread quickly. Some suggested a severe mutation. Others questioned whether the remains were human at all, pointing to the skull shape and bone density as anomalies. Scientific explanations were debated, but no single theory settled the discussion. The footage shows only brief close-ups, offering limited context and no clear origin story. What makes the discovery unsettling isn't just the size of the remains, but how carefully they were preserved, wrapped, hidden, separated from everything else. A small figure, found where it shouldn't be, leaving behind more questions than answers. Desert Bone Watcher. In the El Silencio Desert near the Utah-Arizona border, a pair of hikers stepped off the marked trail searching for unusual rock formations. It was midday, yet the sun was gone, hidden behind a gray-pink haze that didn't match any forecast. Across the dry plain, something stood over scattered bones. A bird, gigantic, as tall as an adult human. Its feathers were dense and black, dull and lightless. A bald, wrinkled pink head turned slowly toward them. The beak was wide and slightly open. In front of it lay a clean skeleton. Human. The bones looked fresh, untouched by scavengers. The bird didn't move. It didn't retreat. It waited. When one hiker raised a phone, the GPS failed, then the clock, then the signal. The image saved, but the file location reads, "No time/no place." The creature never flew. It leaned down, pecked a vertebra, looked back once, and stepped into the shadow of a rock where it simply vanished. Durango Road Encounter. On Rural Highway 24B in the Durango Desert of northern Mexico, a group of young people stopped their trucks after spotting a figure blocking the dirt road. At first, they thought it was a large dog. Then something trapped. As they approached with their phones recording, the creature rose onto two legs and spread its wings. It stood over 2 meters tall. Its body was muscular, covered in earth-colored fur, while its limbs were thin, almost avian. From its back unfolded two membranous wings, black on the outside, red within, creaking like old leather. Its face looked wrong, part canine, part human. A snout, but with a human jaw. Eyes that never blinked. No one touched it. They only filmed. As one man took a photo, the air grew heavy and dry. Dust lifted from the road without wind. The creature raised a claw, pointed at them, then rose straight up into the sky and vanished, without sound, without force, without explanation. Unmarked military transfer. An unidentified military convoy was seen crossing a restricted zone nearly 40 kilometers from the nearest coastline. They moved fast, silent, no insignia. In one of the cargo vehicles, covered only by a black tarp, witnesses reported a body that wasn't breathing normally, yet wasn't dead. The figure had human proportions, wrapped in thick, dark gray skin, cracked like that of a sea mammal. It wore a torn, wet shirt, despite there being no water for kilometers. Its chest rose and fell at irregular intervals, as if struggling to adapt to the air. The eyes were large, completely black, unblinking. They didn't focus, they stared upward. During the transport, radios failed and birds avoided the area entirely. One soldier later claimed the figure opened its mouth once. No sound came out, but a full sentence appeared in his mind. The convoy reached a destination later removed from all maps. The final recovered frame shows the eyes looking straight into the camera. Sonoran Desert Capture. In the Sonoran Desert along the Arizona-Mexico border, wildlife officers began receiving reports of a mutant turkey chasing motorcycles and pecking at road signs. They assumed it was a dehydrated condor until they managed to capture it with the help of 3 ranchers and a steel cage. The animal didn't resist. It walked calmly toward the truck and climbed in on its own. It stood nearly 1.7 meters tall, with red feathers marked by dark, jaguar-like spots. Its neck was long and completely bare, and its curved beak looked closer to a hawk's than a bird of its size. Each step left scorched impressions in the dry ground, as if heat moved beneath its skin. When one rancher tried to tie it down, the bird looked straight at him. He stepped back, pale, repeating that it shouldn't be seen in daylight. Moments later, the radio tuned itself to an empty frequency. Unknown bird calls played in reverse. Then the truck stopped. All 4 tires burst at once. The truck bed was empty. Later, one image survived on a corrupted phone, the bird standing in the same spot, now marked with symbols that hadn't been there before. Lut Desert Anomaly. In the Lut Desert Basin of eastern Iran, a field geology team investigating irregular ground fractures entered an area with no recorded seismic activity. The heat was extreme. The air felt motionless. The ground stretched outward, cracked like scales. One drone stopped mid-air. Something large was moving below, slow but massive. A long body covered in dark, perfectly aligned scales emerged from the earth. It wasn't a snake. At the front, the shape became impossible. A rounded head, almost bovine, crowned with 2 enormous calcified horns curving upward. The eyes had no eyelids, only pressure. The creature was partially buried, carving a deep channel as it moved. When the team attempted to log coordinates, instruments failed. GPS showed 2 locations at once. The creature paused, turned its head slightly. The air vibrated. A thermal camera shattered. Then it continued forward, sinking back into the ground, leaving behind a perfect trench no storm has erased. Desert embrace. In a barren desert landscape, a camera captures a brief and deeply unsettling scene. A cow stands still in the open sand, breathing heavily, unable to move away. Behind it is a massive humanoid creature with a long, thick, serpentine lower body pressed against the ground. Its upper torso is muscular and human-like, with arms wrapped tightly around the animal's neck and shoulders. It isn't attacking. It isn't biting. It's holding the cow. The creature lowers its head close to the animal, pressing its face against it in what looks disturbingly like an embrace. The cow struggles slightly but doesn't break free. There is no visible blood, no sudden violence, only restraint. The scene lasts only seconds. No context is given. No aftermath is shown. What makes it disturbing isn't aggression, but intention. The way the creature holds the animal feels deliberate, controlled, almost intimate. A moment that shouldn't exist, captured just long enough to be seen before the clip ends.